Welcome back. You're with Money, 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 and this week we're discussing retirement options and a clear SWOT analysis between the NPS and the EPF. Now, Mr. Loba, I'm going to, ask you for a quick feedback on the NPS. This scheme has been around for a while.
Yes.
The biggest advantage that people always cite is that, one of the options under the NPS is to go in for equity, and hopefully then you sort of create better wealth and be ready to enjoy the riches by the time you retire. How do you compare these two? Because the EPF, on the other hand, argues about the solid rate of return, which is usually, even now at 8.65%, it's higher than what you'd earn in let's say, an FD in most of the bank accounts. And then there is the assured return aspect of that rate of return. So how would you compare the two?
I would take a step backward, because both these instruments helps an individual to create wealth and preserve wealth for retirement. The objective is to create enough wealth for retirement so that post-retirement replacement of income objectives are met. Now, in case of Provident Fund, you have a lump sum which is available. Under the NPS, you have 40% withdrawal, which is tax-free, though up to 60% withdrawal is allowed. The rest has to be annuitized. And one should ask a question that how much I would require, what should be my target income replacement I need. And the young generation, the word pension may not be very catchy. Probably they should think of a contingency fund, whether they retire early because the work time span is also shrinking, whether it is layoffs and redundancy. So I would advocate that both should coexist. While I say that, Provident Fund gives you a stable returns, no doubt, as you stated. The National Pension System has a choice of fund options where you can optimize your returns and enhance your wealth creation. You have fund options of where 50% of equity exposure.
And that's the highest.
That is the highest. But we have additional options which has come in over the last year. And that is apart from 3 fund options which you have and the corporate bonds and government bonds. You also have life stage fund by default, which is a moderate life stage fund where there is a 50% equity exposure, which keeps on reducing as the age increases. This was already there, but there are 2 other options. One is an aggressive life cycle fund where up to 75% you can expose to equities. There is also, if somebody wants to be conservative, he can expose only 25% equity. These are 3 life stage funds. One is default life stage fund, is a moderate, this one where there is a 50% reducing. Then there is a 75% which is a new addition and a 25% equity exposure.
So there are 3 different funds which are life stage funds?
Yes.
And then there is the pure debt option. I'm just listing out the number of existing options under NPS.
Pure corporate bonds and government bonds. These are both debt funds.
And they're 2 separate. So you can go for pure corporate bonds, slightly more higher, slightly higher risk,
yield,
but then higher yield as well.
The equity is 50%. Again, if one is well informed and educated on investment, he can choose on these active options.
So we're talking about how many options put together?
The 3
6?
active options.
Right.
3 active options. One can look at the performance and look at his portfolio. He can distribute among these 3 equally. Not that he should fund it in one of the funds. Or he has got the auto options, whereas auto by default, I said the 50% equity keeps on reducing. But the new additional options with 75% equity exposure, he can still use that and see how his fund has performed. Over a year, since he has got a choice to change, he can move his options.
So just to quickly recap, we're talking about the basic fund where there's 50% equity, there's 50% debt.
Yes.
We're talking about 2 different types of pure debt funds.
Pure debt funds.
They can be a corporate debt fund, which is slightly higher risk, but then hopefully higher return. There's the government securities debt funds. That's 3. Then we're talking about 3 life stage funds, where your exposure to equity can be 25%, or 50% or 75%, depending on your risk appetite. So 6 different options to choose from under the NPS. Now, someone will probably, ask this, and maybe fund managers or wealth managers will also say that, do you really want to lock yourself up in NPS? If you want to manage your money, you can do your own mix of funds. So then why do an NPS? What do you say to that?
While these NPS and Provident Fund options are generally employer-sponsored, though NPS, all citizens model, individual can go, I would still suggest that that would not be adequate for income replacement. Individuals should still look at their personal investments in terms of systematic investments or mutual funds.
And I guess it's also a question of discipline, isn't it? Yes. There's something excellent about the discipline of whether it's an EPF or an NPS, that even before the income comes to you, it's set aside. You're not supposed to consider that as your monthly income that you can spend and blow away, right?
I think you said the absolutely right thing. The individuals I have seen where they invest in SIPs, systematic investment, with the discipline and the commitment, saying that I will keep it for a long duration, but you see when there is certain emergencies, it is withdrawn and used. It is not actually preserved for retirement. When you are actually planning for retirement, you need to have certain core component of your savings preserving for retirement and certain for other exigencies.
I'm going to take up taxation in the last segment, but before that, beyond tax, what else should one keep in mind while deciding between NPS and EPF? Is there any other way over which one scores over the other?
Today, there is another option which has come up, which was already in the Finance Bill of 2016, where EPF fund and superannuation funds can be moved to NPS, which is accumulated. But I would still suggest that individuals can continue to subscribe. To move EPF funds, still the EPFO regulations need to be amended, whereas superannuation fund, the income tax provisions are there, stated that it can be moved, but they can still continue it, and probably at the last year of their retirement, they can think of moving to NPS so that they can still get a withdrawal of 40% or 60%, 40% tax-free, 60% provided balance, they can annuitize. NPS also offers a systematic withdrawal post 60 up to the age of 70.
Which is where NPS gets a little more complex, and you know we have to understand the withdrawal provisions because it's not very simple. It's not simply sort of taking your entire corpus. So what we're going to do is we'll take a break and we're going to talk about tax and retirement, and of course the way you want to withdraw your money and ensure that you get that steady income when you need it the most. Back in a moment.